Well, Marigrace is going to present now.
Okay.
Um, it is called Your Experience of the Non-Ordinary. So,
Consciousness, right. Thank you.
yes, I guess I don't know that's the other title. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Um, so I purposely said your experiences of the non-ordinary consciousness because I believe that everybody has these. But in our culture, uh, they're so often dismissed or discounted by ourselves. I know for myself in the past, I very much dismissed or discounted experiences that I had. Just, it was hard to believe it was happening. I used to say to myself, oh, it's just my imagination. So, an altered state of consciousness is any mental state in which the ordinary wakefulness, attention, or awareness is temporarily shifted in some way. The line between ordinary and non ordinary states is different for individual depending on their personal level of sensitivity. And while it's common to associate altered states with hallucinogens, there is actually a broad spectrum of experiences that qualify as non-ordinary states of consciousness. So I am really introducing this to encourage people here to consider that perhaps experiences you have were not just your imagination, but they were real. Some of these mental states, some of these mental states can be hypnosis, meditation, hallucination, trance, being under the influence of psychedelics, breathwork, a near-death experience or out-of-body experience, sensory deprivation, spiritual possession, mystical or religious experience, ecstatic dance, or in a dream state. Or an artist may create art and later say, it was done through me, I didn't do this. Or a writer might say, it doesn't seem like I wrote this, it was written through me. Those are all non-ordinary or altered states. Some people have experiences of departed loved ones and feel the presence of the deceased. Some may sense the smell or warmth of someone close to them, or just feel a very strong sense of their presence. They may have a visitation through a dream or another meaningful experience. So, could it be that altered or non-ordinary states of consciousness, for instance, if you're using something like psychedelic, like psilocybin mushrooms, ayahuasca, or LSD, do not create hallucinations, but instead they remove the filter that our brain creates. June of 2019, there was an article written and a study done at MIT. And the bottom line of that is your brain can only take so much. The brain ignores distractions. We tune out distractions. The neuroscientists who wrote this have traced a brain circuit that filters out unwanted sensory input. Our brains are constantly bombarded with sensory information, and we are able to tune out much of it automatically without even realizing it. Imagine trying to focus on a friend's voice at a noisy party, or blocking out a phone conversation of the person sitting next to you while you're reading. Both of these tasks require your brain to somehow suppress the distracting signal so you can focus on your chosen input. What if instead of the brain being a producer of consciousness, it is actually a reducer or limits our consciousness? What if the experience of what is called hallucination is an awareness, an expanded awareness of more than our third dimensional reality, and it's always present, but we're not aware of it? So do psychedelics create hallucinations, or are they merely a vehicle to take the brain as a reducer offline so that we have an awareness of what is always there? Could it be that the brain reduces our awareness of what is present? The brain is necessary, of course, in order to be able to function in our third dimensional reality. but it's like our awareness of the stars. The stars don't go anywhere, and yet during the day, the brightness of the sun blocks our awareness to be able to see the stars. When the brightness of the sun is not present, we see the stars brilliantly in the black sky without a moon. The only thing that changes is our awareness of what is present. So I really want this meeting to be where people feel comfortable in sharing perhaps experiences they've had. And I'm going to start off with an experience that I had. I was going back and forth on whether to share this dream that I had. And I was going to share the dream because I imagine people might be more comfortable in sharing a dream. But I'm going to share something different instead. So heartache, I have discovered, is so very painful, and yet it can also be an opening to the experiences of non-ordinary. It seems somehow to create a portal to have access to what I call the more. I don't know why this is, but I have experienced this repeatedly in my life. So this was in the 1990s. At this time, I again experienced heartache in relationship with my son. It was in the middle of the night and I was sound asleep in my house. I woke to the sound of music. The melody was so familiar, but coming out of a deep sleep, I could not quite place the tune. It was pleasant enough melody, but as it kept playing, I could not go back to sleep. I finally got up to find the source of the music, but as soon as I arose, the music stopped. I went back to bed then, curling up under the warm comforter, intending to get right back to sleep. But as soon as I did, the music began again. I got up again, walked around the house. The women who lived with me at the sacred space were not at home, so I was alone in the house. I checked all the windows to see if perhaps music was coming from outside, but all the windows were closed tight. I checked to see if a radio or TV was on, but it was not. I got up several times that night, trying my best to locate the source of this mysterious music. Finally, I surrendered and began to listen to the melody to see if I could remember any of the lyrics. Finally, I realized why it was so familiar. It was the Beatles song, Let It Be. And some of the lyrics that were important to me was, when I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary, come to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. In my hour of darkness, she's standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. When the broken-hearted people living in the world agree, there will be an answer, let it be. And as this is really emotional. The end of the lyrics are, I wake up to the sound of music. Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom. There will be an answer, let it be. And immediately, Mother Mary appeared to me. She was floating above the end of my bed. She smiled at me and I was astonished. I wept. You must be mistaken to be here with me, I said. I'm not Catholic. I'm not even Christian. I apologized. And Mary smiled and said, neither am I. After all these years, it's still just as touching to me as the time.
Yeah.
So I'd like to open it up now for anyone who would like to share something, and to keep in mind so that we have enough time for many of us to share. Just maybe Sarah, could you do the 2-minute timing? I'm sure I used more than 2 minutes, but I get to today. So if just raise your hand if you'd like to share a dream or an experience. Nita.
Let me unmute. I'm okay. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
54 years ago, I was a 25-year-old living in Dallas, Texas. I had just left my strict German first husband and was living with my Mexican artist lover. And we were living in a little apartment. And one day we walked out and we smelled something sweet. And I said, "What is that?" And he said, "I think it's marijuana." And we had a new neighbor. And he said, "I'll be right back." And he went next door and he came back with an ounce of marijuana. And he had paid the ungodly sum of $10 for it. And we said, "Well, let's try this." And we did. And I started crying because I had been raised a good girl. I did everything right. I never broke a law. I never did anything wrong. And I started crying. And I cried for 4 straight hours. I cried about everything in the world, stuff I couldn't even imagine. I was sobbing over the state of everything, animals, life, the planet. And I sobbed and I sobbed and I sobbed. And when I got done, I said, "Well, life has changed forever." And I never looked back. And I have continued to indulge, not a lot, but upon occasion, I have turned to mind-altering substances because of what you said. Like you said, it pushes my ego aside and it takes me right to a source. Many a psychic said to me, "You don't do well with alcohol, but on other substances, you see God." So, anyway, thank you for this.
Thank you, Nina.
We were all excited about this one, I know.
Linda.
I have 2 brief ones. A long time ago, I was part of a 500-mile Indian run. And I think some of you who are old members remember that. And I remember being in a car. We were probably on the 3rd or 4th day. And the woman next to me started having a panic attack or an asthma attack. And she didn't have her healer. And she said, "It's on the mountain. It's in the van on the mountain." And I did not know I had this in me, but I just got out and I ran to get it and bring it back. And that was not me, but it was me. So that was good. And the second thing that I want to talk about is I used to go to Sacred Roots and meditate. Now I meditate online with the group. But when I would go, a download came and I wrote a book. And it was like I just wrote it in 2 hours because it was just in my head. Nita knows that because she helped me put it together. It was a meditation book. And if anybody wants it, just let me know. It just came. It just came. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Diana.
As many of you know, both of my husbands have shown their presence a lot in my life since they passed, and I've had orbs and all sorts of things show up. But something just happened on Tuesday. It was Ted's 85th birthday on the 18th. And I was going to see the woman who I see for business reasons, who happens to be a medium. And she was working on me. And afterwards, when I got up, she said, "Oh my God, Ted was here and he talked the whole time. And he said how great it is that you're downsizing, that you'll bloom in ways that you never could have bloomed." And he mentioned orange flowers 3 or 4 times, that you would be loving some orange flowers. And I kept thinking, that must be in the future. So the next day I was with my editor and I was driving him home and he said, "Can I just stop in here in Ralph's for a minute?" And pretty soon he came out with these orange roses. And I said, wow, what is this all about? He said, I don't know. I just wanted to buy you some flowers and I picked up some pink ones, but I kept hearing orange. No, orange. So Ted showed up on his birthday.
Thank you. You know, we have two screens, so I see Ruth. Go ahead, Ruth.
So for those of you who have known me for a while, you probably have heard the story of how I started channeling music songs that in a very unexpected way. The first one, they all had something to do with interfaith engagement and with the challenges of living in a world that is composed of such diverse people, religiously, ethically, so forth. But what I noticed when at first it just seemed like a lark. Basically, I didn't take it that seriously. But when the songs kept coming and coming, and I noticed that sometimes when a line would come out, I would laugh at it as if I were the audience rather than the receiver. And I would have this odd feeling, that's terrific. I wonder who wrote that. And sometimes when I would wake up in the morning, I would have music coming in my head, nonstop music. And I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't fully awake. And I would just talk to whoever it was that was sending me the music and say, give me a few moments. I need to get up first. But the experience made me aware of that there is, you know, like when you take a microscope and you see on the atomic level of what's going on in our bodies. So I think on a cosmic level, all these events, thoughts, ideas, pictures, images are all there all the time. And it's just about and that's Marigrace, I want to refer to that beautiful way you explained it this morning. It's taking away the barriers, because it's not that they suddenly come. It's that they really are always there. Yeah. And there was a very famous rabbi, Shlomo Carlebach, who was passed. He was called the singing rabbi. One of his good friends came to him once and said, I apologize to you. I sang a new song to my congregation. I thought it was mine, but they said it was yours. And so I want to beg your forgiveness for taking credit for it. He said, well, it's not mine either. And so they said, well, whose is it? He said, I don't know. It was just there and I plucked it down. I brought it down. So this is a subject very dear to my heart, Marigrace, and thank you for sharing. And the last comment you made about Mother Mary, the truth is that all those ascended masters don't have a religion. We've shoved a religion onto them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Lovita.
Oh, wow. I don't even know where to begin. And Sarah's going to gong me out and I'll still be chattering. Oh my God. Me too, Marigrace. And when I first joined the Mastery Circle, oh gosh, I'm going to cry. And you started sharing your experience, which I so valued and appreciated. It gave me permission in a lot of ways to embrace my own. And I don't talk about this usually, certainly not publicly. I started having a series of dreams that completely transformed my life. And it was around the time of my mother's passing. And that Mac mentioned it this morning, and I know Jonathan's mother has just recently passed. That's really significant. And if it is the same sex parent, I have a belief that it is, well, it's important no matter what, but my mother was ill for several years. And I kept having this dream where a name would come to me and I I am blessed with dyslexia. So things sometimes get all backwards or upside down and I don't know what they mean. So I started arguing with the dream. It was like, I don't know what that means. And it was because I kept saying, who are you? Who are you? And this name kept like being printed out across the ceiling of my mind. And I just kept saying, that's not real. That's not a name. I don't know what that means. I can't even pronounce it. And so it broke it down physically for me. It was like, oh my. And it was Ra, Ma, Na, Ramana. I said, that's not even a real name, you know, and I argue, I debate, carry on. I spent the next 11 years going to libraries. Sarah, I see you. Libraries and any place I could find prior to the internet. It transformed my life. These dreams would come and instructions would come, and I always had three options. And it's not the good or the bad or the easy or the hard. It's like, no, there's a third way, a middle way. My life was transformed. I am where I am today. That is just swimming in gratitude. There isn't a moment that the spirit of that has not been with me. It took me to India in search of one person that I knew on the planet, Papaji, had been in the company of Ramana. And again, it just goes on and on and on. And I'm ever so grateful for this topic, for this opportunity. And thank you.
Thank you, Lavita. Thank you so much. Hedia.
Thank you, Marigrace. I appreciate you sharing about this. In 2013, I almost died 4 times that year. And every time I was ready. I've had most of my life, all of my life until recently, I've had suicidal tendencies, didn't want to be on this planet, moving on. So in the episodes of me leaving my body, I call them they because I don't know who they are. I saw my soul above my body, and then I could hear them. They're like, this is not your time. It's not your time. We're healing you. And I could see them. It's like little tiny people working on my heart, working on my body, like, we're healing you. This is not your time. So I wanted to share that. And I still don't know what to make of it. I don't think of it that often, but I committed, okay, it's not my time. I'm here. I'm supposed to be here. And from processing a little bit of it, I keep realizing it doesn't have to be profound. I don't have to be the Dalai Lama. I don't have to be Jesus. Just whoever is on my path to love and care and touch their hearts. It can be that simple. I don't have to be, my favorite saint is Saint Francis of Assisi. I don't have to be him. And then another time I was driving on the 405 and there was a car spinning right in front of me. It was like a hair. I would have hit it, but something, it felt that way to me. Something took my leg off of the
Accelerated.
thank you. And then and put and they did the brake for me because I was like in shock and frozen. And I was like, wow. So I have these experiences a lot in life that somebody is watching over me. Somebody is taking care of me. Otherwise, I mean, I've had other near-death experiences, either accidents or climbing and almost falling. And there's always somebody there supporting me. And it's amazing. And I still don't know what to make of it. And I don't know what they are, who they are. So thank you for the opportunity to reflect on this. I love you, Marigrace.
Thank you. Love you. Thank you so much, Hedia. Afton.
Yeah, I have lived a lot of my life in altered states, and but I think, I'm not sure you mentioned, but past life regression is a way to go into altered states. So I'll share one that is embedded in me as a memory stronger than most memories that I have. When I was 5, when my son was 5, we were driving through downtown Los Angeles, and he said, "Mom, do you remember when we were here and there were no buildings and there was just lots of water and we caught fish in the tide pools and we were brothers?" And as he said it, I saw it. And it's a memory stronger than remembering back to what we would call this plane. It's always there with me. That's one experience I had. I've had many. I've probably been to 100 lifetimes. But another experience that isn't a lifetime is when I was sleeping with my son. I had a dream of a dinosaur chasing me. It was very complex. And when I woke up, I knew it wasn't my dream. I just knew it. And he woke up, he said, "Oh my God, this dinosaur was chasing me." And that showed me that you can be in the same dream space when you're with somebody that I think that you love. They can take you along in their dream space. So those were two things I wanted to share.
Thank you so much, Acton.
I've led a couple of times in person in Mastery Circle, the past life, and a couple of people, I think including you, Marigrace, have had really profound experiences in a very short period of time.
It's profound. Yeah. Thank you. So I don't know if it's Paul or Bonnie Walker.
It's Paul.
Okay.
As you all know, I'm a poet, and these things come to me. You know, it's just like rattling around in my head. I have to say this or say that, and I don't feel at peace until I've written it down, and so you know, these things come to me all the time, and I'm grateful. But if I don't express it, it just drives me crazy. So you know, it's an altered state that visits me all the time, and in the past I've been through a lot of these altered states various ways. So it's really important that we listen to these things that come to us and express them, because they're pure and meaningful, not just for ourselves, but for others who've had similar experiences. It kind of reminds them that something beyond the normal is possible and normal. So that's me. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Paul. Pamela. Unmute, Pamela.
Thank you. Thank you. I realize particularly today how this group has so much in common and why I feel so connected with this group. And one of the reasons is because of all the unseen, unheard friends you all have. and so I'm not only with you, but I'm with your unseen friends. And so it's just wonderful. And I have mentioned this, excuse me, before, I think. A group of angels came to me when I was in yoga class, and they were laughing and above my head. And I said, "Why are you laughing?" And they say, "Well, we're the laughing group." Okay, fine. Yesterday, I was in a huge in Las Vegas parking lot with maybe 300 different cars or something. And I had to go for a checkup or something. I parked my car and I forgot to take a picture of north, south, east, west so I could find my car. And my car is 23 years old. It's very low. It's 1961 Honda Accord that my father gave me 23 years ago. So, and all these cars now are twice as high, twice as fat. And so I go out and I'm walking and walking and walking. I can't find the car. I said, angels, would you please help me? Please help me to find the car. And, they giggle a lot. And I wrote this down, but they say, we have to get you to where you are going. Like always, we have to get you to where you're going. So we'll help you find your car. And sure enough, I turn here, I turn with the lines of roll, and there is my car, about half the height of the big cars on either side. And thank you, angels, again. And they say, and we have to get you to go to where you are going. That's it. Oh.
Thank you so much, Pamela. I can't even tell you, I'm just loving these shares. Thank you, everybody, so much. Eugenia.
Thank you. This is glorious. So when I was about 10 years old, my mother was paralyzed and in the hospital a lot from the time I was 10 years old. So the summer that I was 10, my brother and I were at the hospital visiting my mother frequently. And we used to play a game where we would guess which elevator door was going to open first. And one time the door opened, these people came out, and my mind just went to, I knew exactly what they were going to say. And these were people I'd never seen before. They probably were visiting somebody else in the hospital, but she said something, he said something, and the kid said something. And my mind just said it before they said it because I knew they were going to say it. And I was so astounded. And it really struck me that we live on parallel planes. And so since then, it didn't scare me. It wasn't weird. It was just there. And I've had those kind of experiences all my life. And what that taught me is that to just watch it. And I like what you said, Marigrace, that Ruth reiterated. It was about removing the barriers because it's there. There's so much available if we just let it. And I think for me, hearing this, I'm thinking, if it would be better to put myself in the situation or just let it be, because I feel like I'm much more an observer. And that's, I love observing it and I write it down, but I'm not doing anything with it. And I don't know, maybe I should be looking for my car in the parking lot. Yeah, removing the barriers. Thank you, Marigrace. Thank you all.
Thank you, Eugenia. I'm loving this. This is great. Amy, please.
Oh, thank you, Marigrace. This is fascinating. I know I had a past life in China. Knew it from a very, probably when I was in, I think 10th grade. Just a fascination with it. And I do Nano November every year, which is you write 50,000 words in 1 month. And so I've done that for probably, well, I think I'm at 1 million words because I've done it so many years.
Wow.
But one year I'm sitting at our dining room table at a new place we just rented, and I'm writing this story about a tea farm in China and the mountain and all of the beautiful processes that they do with this these tea farms and the dirt and the hillsides. And I was so there. I was just channeling this into the story that I was writing. And the next day, our landlord comes by and unexpected, and I'm like, "What? How are you? And what brings you here?" And he's like, "I just got back from China, and I had to bring you a gift." I'm like, "You had to bring me a gift? We don't know him very well." The next thing, he hands me this gold box, and I open it, and it's tea in these beautiful gold packages. And I looked up the farm and where he got it. I'm like, I swear it was the same exact farm that I had just channeled the day before writing in the story. And I still have the box. I never used the T because I found it wasn't to be used. It was just a gift from the entities that travel in and out of our life. So thank you, Marigrace.
Oh, thank you, Amy. These are wonderful. Oh my gosh, shares. Michelle, please.
This is amazing. We need to do this more, Marigrace. we need an encore of this one.
I knew it would be very rich.
Yeah, I have received a number of messages, but in 2004, I was helping my neighbor move and I was driving her Jeep. She had fallen asleep in the passenger seat and there was a U-Haul attached to the back. And as I was passing in the same direction, an 18-wheeler, suddenly the U-Haul started fishtailing. And so I ended up being sucked into the 18-wheeler, thrown into the median. The car was turning. I couldn't see anything. I thought that was the end. And I remember saying to this woman, I'm so sorry, as if I had control over that. But anyway, and I had this sense of maybe the car was going to blow up and fire. That was in my mind the worst way to go. But what happened with all the clanging and I couldn't see out and I didn't know what was going on or where we were or what was happening. I heard this voice and it just said, let go. And it was so calming and so freeing. I had absolute trust that if this was my time to go, it would all be okay. And obviously it wasn't. I'm still here. But it was such a powerful moment of the fact that I wasn't in control. There was another force that was. And what I needed to do in my life, and it's been a lesson I've practiced since, is that to trust and to let go and to know that all was well.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Michelle. So this looks like Bonnie Walker. Is that right?
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Marigrace. This is really great. I'm thinking of so many things listening to all of you, experiences that I've had. But the one I really want to share is something that happened to me when I was 15 years old, and it absolutely changed the course of my life. I was at a church camp up in the mountains, and we were sitting around a fire, and they're singing Kumbaya or something, and I looked out at the stars, and there was just this incredible thing that happened. I felt like either the stars were coming totally into me, or I was going totally out to the stars. And I said, oh my God, there is a God. And I had been raised in this incredibly fundamentalist environment with just total dogma. There was only one way of believing, and if you didn't believe that, you were going to hell, and just the whole bit. And I knew in that moment that what we were dealing with, what was there for us, was so much bigger than that. And that started me. I mean, of course, I didn't know what to do with that, and I put it into the religion that I knew for a while, and then when I was 19, I finally realized that no, I need to move on to something else. And so it absolutely changed my life that I had that experience, and I'm so grateful for that. Sometimes I forget just how much that changed my life, and I'm so very grateful that I had that experience. And it really did feel like something was coming to me, or I was going to it. And so thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Lori.
Well, I was moved to share something too when I was 15 years old. I was very close to my grandmother, and she just had a very amazing, huge heart. Beautiful heart. And she was at a certain point, she was in a convalescent home, in a facility, and I wasn't able to see her very much because I couldn't drive at that point. It was further away, but we found out that she was just not doing well physically. So my brother, who was older than me, had an older girlfriend, which was very interesting. And I, didn't quite know what to make of her at that time. But we all went to visit my grandmother, and she was tearful, and she didn't really want to leave. I mean, my grandmother didn't want to pass to transcend. And my brother's girlfriend went ahead and said, it's okay, you can go. I didn't quite understand it at the time, but she just said, you can go. So we said our goodbyes to her as far as just that we loved her. I didn't think she was going to be dying at that point or anything, but we just said our goodbyes, and I loved her very much. And that night, my sister and I shared a phone together. We had a phone, just the two of us, like kind of a phone. So that night, in the middle of the night, the phone rang. And the phone rang, picked up the phone, and nobody was on the end of the phone. I found out later on that my grandmother had died at that time, that she had passed away and had died. So I saw it as my grandmother wanting to say goodbye again, and just in a loving manner. And since then, a few times where I just, in more recent times, I do medicine dance or sacred dance. And I might be dancing, and all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, I'll have an image of her. In a sense, it's almost like just of a blessing, and just the beauty of her love. So I just wanted to share that, as far as that was one of an earlier experience that I had of just a being that just was, that with love was able to express something beyond time and space, to show of her caring. That's my story.
Thank you so much, Lori. Brooke.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Wow, this is exciting. I'm a little nervous to share. So this is a different kind of experience. I'm going to share an experience of profound experience of myself in a swimming pool at a swimming workout when I was about 24 years old, and visiting a friend in Massachusetts who had become the swimming coach of a junior college up there. This event happened because I had been a competitive swimmer since I was 10, from 10 to about 20. I swam at Stanford, and the name of our group here is Mastery Circle. And I think that I want you to understand, people that haven't, at its normal time, when I was 14, I was swimming in a team 2 hours a day, 6 days a week, minimum. Like, so something happens when you do something that much. So, but I wasn't in that kind of training. I was sort of, in life after swimming. But staying with this friend of mine, I worked out 2 times a day with his team. And so by the second afternoon, I had got back in shape, back to where I could really, the way I said it to myself was, I got in such a groove that the strokes swim themselves, that it doesn't take someone pushing it. And so the night before, I had been reading the book Nature, Man, and Woman by Alan Watts, which is a great book, of course. And the last chapter is called The World as Ecstasy. And in that chapter, he says a lot of things, but he talks about resistance to pain is pain. And he says, pain fully accepted is ecstasy. And I thought, well, Alan Watts, that's a nice, that's not really true. He's writing that for effect. And so on the second day in the afternoon, I meditated before workout, transcendental meditation that I had learned. I did 15 or 20 minutes of my mantra. And then about 40 minutes into this workout, we're doing a set of 2,100 individual medleys. And I had gotten back in shape, back in mastery, to where in those couple of days, to where I was really in the groove with my strokes. And it got to the point about 6 or 8 repeats in, and I'm getting tired and getting, that's what the design of a structured workout is. Do what you can and take it to where you can't do it. Push beyond. And I realized that I had been taught wrong, that the point wasn't to resist the pain, it was to feel the pain, let the pain in. And as soon as I did that, I got extraordinarily high, both like mentally high and high in my whole body. And then I finished out that whole set, and it was just an extraordinary, ecstatic, happy experience. And I got out of the pool afterwards. I looked at people and I thought it was like a veil had been lifted, and I could see people's whole life experience of pain and pleasure in their bodies, including my own body. So it was absolutely ecstatic and riveting. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brooke. Nadia.
Yes, hi everyone. About 4 years ago, I did a training and certification on how to read Akashic records. And during that time, my best friend's mom passed away. And I don't know if I was maybe more open during that time, but I had vivid dreams with my best friend's mom. And I barely knew her mom. Yet her mom kept visiting my dreams, and she wanted me to share certain messages with my friend. And these dreams would not stop. And I was conflicted how to approach my friend, who would probably think I'm crazy. But these dreams kept coming. So I eventually shared my dreams, and it was a profound, beautiful moment for my friend and very relevant to what she wanted to hear. And the dream stopped after I shared what was coming to me. So speaking of dreams, I on Sunday did a how to work with dreams workshop with Dr. George Bermudez, who does a lot of, his focus is on social dreaming and how it's focused on what we're struggling communally, and how we need each other and these connections, and consciously and unconsciously, we could potentially collaborate on new ideas through social dreaming and sharing our dreams, and how dream work might be the forefront to help us elevate our society. And so he's doing this work with the Ukrainian and Russian refugees, and turns out they're all having the same dreams and similar themes in these dreams. And I just thought it was so beautiful that we, as society, we haven't tapped into that, and the potential of coming together and sharing what kind of dreams we're having, and maybe like getting these downloads with potential answers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Nadia. And just a little PS to what you're sharing, if I may. Next week, Sarah is going to be sharing transformative potential of group dream work. So next week. So
And
Sarah.
Marigrace, just a reminder that we're at 10 off right now.
Oh, I just love you. Oh,
I'm sorry to bring the bad news. Okay.
Me too.
You
Okay.
go.
Okay, Sarah, please.
Okay, thank you. I'll make it quick. I wasn't even going to share this because I haven't really shared it with many people, but all your stories have given me courage to share. I find that when I really work on with my dreams, and I really focus on writing them down and working on them and all the things that I do, I get these visions and downloads of what I truly believe is a parallel lifetime that I'm living. and they're so vivid, and it's always the same. They come in my dreams, they come in hypnagogic states, they come in, when I'm daydreaming, all sorts of different occasions, and they're really vivid. They're really always the same people. I'm a woman with a husband and 2 kids, and just things that happen to me, and I see them and I write them down, and maybe I'll turn them into a book one day, but they're so real and so vivid that I have no doubt that it's another lifetime, that a part of my soul is living in this moment. So
Thank you. Thank you so much. I can hardly wait for your presentation next week.
Thank you.
So Bill, what do you think? Do we have time for one short one from Tim?
I think Tim can be brief. I think he knows how to do that.
Okay, I'll be real brief. I want to show you a quick picture of a neighbor of man when I was back in California who had this dog, and he loved this dog tremendously. I'll just show you a quick picture of him. Hopefully you can see him in this picture with the dog. You were able to see him? Okay. Okay, so what happened was, I used to take the dog out for walks and stuff. And then he was in a care facility. So I thought, I got to get that dog in there. I'm not going to ask permission. I'm just going to go in the door. The dog was a pit bull. Nurses started running away and stuff. And I went down to his room and I lifted that dog up onto the bed. And that was the picture I snapped of him with the dog. Wasn't very much longer. I was in a meditation session and there were like 100 people there. I was meditating and these bright lights went right across the front of the meditation area. And I said, that's Jim. That's Jim. He has come to say hello. And then when I talked to his wife, he had died around that time that night.
Oh, oh, that's so beautiful, Tim. What a wonderful finish. Well, thank you, everybody, so much. This was just absolutely rich and wonderful. And thank you.